The Mediterranean Sea at night holds a captivating duality. Azure waters that glimmer under moonlight, carrying vessels filled with celebration and romance. Yet these same waters have become silent graves for those who mysteriously vanish without witness. On the luxury liner Oceanic Majesty in July 2018, champagne glasses clinked and newlywed laughter echoed across 14 decks of opulence. For Veronica and Thomas Blackwell, this voyage represented the culmination of dreams. A Mediterranean honeymoon cruise with sunsets in Barcelona, moonlight in Naples, and dawns approaching the Greek islands. By dawn on July 10th, only one of them remained. The transition from celebration to catastrophe occurred in the span of hours. One moment captured on security footage shows Veronica Blackwell in an elegant black dress, smiling as she crossed the ship's grand atrium. The next meaningful frame shows Thomas Blackwell alone at the guest services desk, his face displaying what investigators would later debate was either genuine panic or calculated performance. "My wife is missing," he reported at 9:10 a.m. Between those two moments lies the mystery that continues to haunt two families, frustrate investigators across 4 countries, and raise alarming questions about justice at sea. The Mediterranean waters, reaching depths of over 5,000 meters, rarely surrender their secrets, or they're dead. What makes this case particularly unsettling isn't just the disappearance itself, but the intimate setting in which it occurred. A honeymoon suite measuring barely 340 square feet. A husband who claims he slept peacefully while his bride of 3 months somehow vanished. A luxury vessel with over 300 surveillance cameras, yet a crucial 11 minutes of footage mysteriously corrupted. How well do we truly know the person sharing our bed? The question haunts not just this case, but strikes at our most fundamental relationships. We trust our safety, our vulnerability, our unconscious hours to those closest to us. Yet in intimate spaces, the line between protection and danger can dissolve with terrifying speed. Have you ever ignored that gut feeling when something felt wrong about someone close to you? Those moments when inconsistencies appeared in stories, when reactions didn't quite match circumstances, when explanations seemed rehearsed rather than genuine? Veronica's friends later admitted to such doubts, small concerns they dismissed about Thomas's jealousy, his occasional controlling behavior, his insistence on handling their finances despite her superior earning power. Now they wonder if speaking up might have saved her life. Veronica Chen grew up in a close-knit Taiwanese-American family in Cambridge, Massachusetts. At 32, she had established herself as a top pharmaceutical sales representative for Mercer Biotech, consistently exceeding her targets by 30% annually. Colleagues described her as methodical and exceptionally organized, her digital calendar color-coded to perfection, her presentations impeccably researched. This attention to detail extended to her personal life. Friends noted how she maintained detailed travel journals and planned vacations months in advance. Veronica never left anything to chance, said Melissa Kent, her former roommate. She researched restaurants before dining out, studied maps before visiting new cities, and kept emergency contacts for every situation. That's why her disappearance makes absolutely no sense. Thomas Blackwell, 35, presented a charming counterpoint to Veronica's structured approach. As a financial analyst at Boston Capital Partners, he impressed clients with his easy confidence and quick wit. Standing 6 feet 2 inches with athletic build maintained through weekend rugby games, Thomas had a commanding presence that drew attention in any room. His colleagues noted his ability to win over even the most hesitant investors with seemingly effortless charisma. Their paths crossed at a cancer research fundraiser in autumn 2016. Veronica, coordinating pharmaceutical donations, found herself seated beside Thomas, who represented his firm's charitable foundation. Attendees later recalled their immediate chemistry, animated conversation throughout dinner, followed by Thomas abandoning his assigned seat at dessert to continue their discussion. Their courtship moved swiftly. Within 6 weeks, Thomas had moved essential belongings into Veronica's Beacon Hill apartment. By month 4, they'd placed a deposit on a wedding venue. Their May 2018 ceremony at a historic Cape Cod estate dazzled 150 guests with its elegance and apparent perfection. Yet fissures existed beneath this glossy exterior. Denise Martinez, Veronica's college roommate, received concerning late-night texts. She messaged at 1 a.m., asking if I thought it was normal for someone to check their partner's phone while they showered, Martinez revealed. Another time, she mentioned Thomas becoming upset when she planned dinner with colleagues without consulting him first. Amanda Winters, who worked with Veronica, noticed changes too. She declined after work gatherings that became inconvenient. She stopped wearing certain outfits Thomas didn't approve of. When I mentioned these changes, she dismissed them as compromises that relationships required. Most troubling was an incident 3 weeks before their wedding. Veronica arrived at her final dress, fitting with faint bruising on her upper arm. When the seamstress inquired, she quickly attributed it to bumping into a door, an explanation that raised eyebrows but prompted no further questions. Behind their picture-perfect smiles lay secrets nobody saw coming. The Oceanic Majesty represented the crown jewel of Atlantic Voyages' fleet, a 14-deck floating paradise stretching nearly 1,000 feet from bow to stern. With 6 restaurants, 3 swimming pools, a 2-story casino, and suites commanding upwards of $2,000 per night. During peak season, it catered to travelers seeking luxury rather than budget-conscious vacationers. Thomas and Veronica embarked from Barcelona's bustling port on July 5, 2018. Their Mediterranean itinerary promised cultural immersion: Naples with its ancient ruins, Sicily's volcanic landscapes, Malta's medieval architecture, and Greece's sun-drenched islands before returning to Spain after 12 days at sea. Their premium balcony suite, 8,243, offered panoramic ocean views, a private veranda, and exclusive access to the ship's celestial lounge where complimentary champagne flowed each evening. Security footage captured these early days, the couple lounging by the adults-only infinity pool, participating in a pasta-making class, and touring the bridge at the captain's invitation, a special arrangement for honeymoon couples. Fellow passengers noted their apparent happiness. They seemed inseparable, recalled Diana Winters, who shared their dining table on night 2. He constantly took photos of her against the sunset. She laughed at all his jokes. This facade cracked on night 4 as the ship sailed toward Sicily. The ship's Grand Palace Casino witnessed an unexpected display. Thomas, increasingly agitated at the roulette table, lost approximately $7,000 in under an hour according to casino records. His demeanor transformed completely, observed Marcus Ellington, a retired banker seated nearby. He slammed chips onto the table, cursed under his breath. When his wife suggested they leave, he grabbed her wrist and said something that made her face drop. She walked out alone. Ship security cameras captured Veronica retreating to their cabin at 11:42 p.m. Thomas continued gambling for another hour before following, his posture noticeably tense as he moved through the corridors. If you're finding this case intriguing, subscribe for more deep investigations into maritime mysteries and unsolved disappearances. Every day, we explore another vanishing that authorities still can't explain. July 9th began as the 5th day of the Blackwell's Mediterranean honeymoon. Ship records document their movements with clinical precision, creating a timeline that investigators would later scrutinize for inconsistencies. 10:30 a.m., the couple attended a shore excursion in Palermo, Sicily, a guided tour of historical catacombs. Tour guide Antonio Ferretti noted they seemed distracted and barely spoke to each other. 4:45 p.m., Oceanic Majesty departed Sicily, setting course for Valletta, Malta. 7:20 p.m., Thomas and Veronica entered the captain's gala dinner, a formal event requiring evening attire. 3 security cameras captured their arrival, Veronica wearing a navy blue evening gown with diamond earrings, jewelry never recovered after her disappearance. 9:15 p.m., waiter Emilio Vasquez served the couple their 3rd champagne bottle. He later testified that Thomas appeared considerably more intoxicated than Veronica, who sipped slowly while her husband drained glasses quickly. 10:40 p.m., the couple moved to the Starlight Lounge for after-dinner drinks. Bartender Camila Rodriguez recalled making Veronica a single gin and tonic, while Thomas ordered 3 whiskey doubles within an hour. 11:55 p.m., a brief argument occurred near the bar's entrance. Passenger Eleanor Wright overheard Thomas say, "You're embarrassing me," though the context remained unclear. 12:35 a.m., the couple were filmed entering the elevator to Deck 8 where their suite was located. This footage shows Thomas with his arm around Veronica's waist. Body language experts later noted she leaned away from him slightly. Thomas's account to investigators stated they returned directly to their cabin, where Veronica complained of seasickness. He claimed she took Medicat Ion. They both went to bed around 1:30 a.m., and he fell asleep with his wife beside him. He maintained he slept continuously until 8:45 a.m., when he awoke to find her missing. However, established facts contradict this narrative. 1:40 a.m., cabin keycard logs show their door opened and closed. 1:52 a.m., a corridor camera shows Thomas alone, walking toward the ship's casino. 2:30 a.m., neighboring passengers German couple Klaus and Hannah Schmidt reported hearing a loud argument with a woman crying through the walls of cabin 8243. 2:47 a.m., another keycard entry to their cabin. 3:12 a.m., The final keycard entry for the night. 3:27 a.m., the most crucial footage shows Veronica alone on deck 10, wearing casual clothes not sleepwear, moving unsteadily along the starboard side. Wind tousled her hair as she gripped the railing, pausing twice to look over the edge. Then comes the 11-minute gap that maritime investigators call highly suspicious. From 3:29 a.m. until 3:40 a.m., all surveillance footage covering that section of deck 10 shows only static. A technical failure, the cruise line attributed to routine system maintenance despite no scheduled updates in the ship's maintenance log. When footage resumes at 3:40 a.m., the deck is empty. Veronica Blackwell is never seen again. The Mediterranean waters that night were unusually calm, with moonlight illuminating the sea's surface. The ship maintained a steady 18 knots, approximately 21 miles per hour. If Veronica went overboard, by accident, suicide, or force, her body would have entered the water roughly 90 miles east of Sicily in waters nearly 3,000 meters deep. Search operations began 9 hours after her estimated disappearance, following a ship-wide alert at 10:15 a.m. By then, ocean currents had hours to disperse any evidence. What would be your first action if someone you loved vanished without trace? Would you immediately alert authorities, search the location yourself, or contact friends and family to verify their whereabouts? Your initial reaction might reveal more about your relationship than you realize. As investigators from multiple agencies converged on the case, Thomas Blackwell's carefully constructed narrative began to fracture under scrutiny. His initial statement claimed he awoke concerned when finding Veronica absent, immediately contacting ship personnel. Yet security footage showed him visiting the breakfast buffet alone at 8:52 a.m., casually selecting pastries before reporting his wife missing 18 minutes later. When questioned about this delay, Thomas amended his story, claiming he first searched their cabin thoroughly, checked nearby public areas, then assumed she might be eating breakfast. Head security officer Marco Rossi noted, his concern appeared to escalate only after crew members began asking questions. The cabin steward, Emmanuel Diaz, provided testimony that directly contradicted Thomas's account. The electronic Do Not Disturb indicator was activated at 7:15 a.m. from inside the cabin, Diaz stated in official records. This prevented our morning service. Mr. Blackwell denied setting this indicator, yet systems show it could only be activated from the internal control panel. Forensic specialists from Italian authorities discovered microscopic blood spatter on the balcony furniture and railing, invisible to casual observation but revealed under luminol testing. DNA analysis confirmed the blood matched Veronica's genetic profile. Thomas explained this as resulting from a minor cut she sustained earlier in the voyage when she scraped her arm on a deck chair. However, the medical center had no record of Veronica seeking treatment for any injury. The most damning physical evidence emerged from Veronica's personal water bottle, which she carried throughout the cruise according to multiple witnesses. Toxicology tests revealed significant traces of lorazepam, a potent sedative not sold in the ship's medical facility. Thomas denied knowledge of any medication beyond over-the-counter seasickness pills. Yet his own medical records, subpoenaed later, showed he had received a lorazepam prescription 3 weeks before their wedding for situational anxiety. The concentration found would cause profound sedation in someone Veronica's size, testified Dr. Elena Moretti, forensic toxicologist. Particularly when combined with alcohol, it could render a person incapable of self-protection or clear judgment. Ship records confirmed Veronica never visited the medical center for seasickness Medicat Ion, contradicting another element of Thomas's account. The Schmidt couple, occupying the adjacent cabin, provided testimony that shattered the timeline Thomas had presented. Around 2:30 a.m., we heard a heated argument, Hannah Schmidt told investigators. A woman was crying. A man's voice, much louder, demanded she stop making a scene. There was a heavy thud against our shared wall, then silence. Klaus Schmidt added, "It was disturbing enough that we considered calling security, but the sudden quiet made us hesitate. We've regretted that decision every day since." When confronted with these contradictions, Thomas provided explanations that investigators described as increasingly elaborate and implausible. He suggested the Schmidts heard a different cabin, claimed Veronica must have taken Medicat Ion without his knowledge, and insisted the blood evidence resulted from cross-contamination during testing. Maritime security expert Raymond Kostova noted, "In cases like this, inconsistencies rarely appear in isolation. When multiple evidence points contradict a witness statement, investigators must consider deliberate deception rather than memory lapses." But here's where the story takes an even darker turn. As investigators delved into the couple's financial records, a troubling picture emerged beneath the facade of upper-middle-class prosperity. 6 weeks before their wedding, Thomas and Veronica had modified their life insurance policies through Massachusetts Mutual. Veronica's coverage increased from $500,000 to $2 million, a fourfold expansion with Thomas as the sole beneficiary. The timing raises immediate concerns, noted FBI financial analyst Diane Perez. While many couples adjust insurance before marriage, this substantial increase exceeded typical adjustments, especially considering they owned no property together and had no children. Thomas explained the increase as responsible financial planning recommended by his wealth management colleague. However, that colleague later testified he never advised such a dramatic policy increase, particularly given the premium costs. Further investigation revealed Thomas faced mounting financial pressure invisible to those in their social circle. Credit reports showed 5 maxed-out credit cards with combined balances exceeding $87,000. His brokerage statements indicated a series of unsuccessful high-risk investments, depleting nearly 60% of his savings over 18 months. Most alarming, Thomas had recently borrowed against his 401k retirement account, a move financial planners consider a last resort option indicating severe liquidity problems. The couple's honeymoon, costing approximately $22,000, had been charged entirely to Thomas's nearly maxed American Express card 2 weeks before departure. Within 48 hours of returning to Boston, while search operations for Veronica still continued in the Mediterranean, Thomas contacted Marcus Wolcott, a prominent criminal defense attorney whose services typically command a $100,000 retainer. When reporters questioned this decision, Wolcott issued a statement that his client was merely protecting himself from rush-to-judgment speculation. Those who encountered Thomas during the days following his return described his demeanor as oddly composed. During a televised plea for information, behavioral analysts noted his lack of emotional indicators typically seen in genuine distress cases. He spoke about Veronica exclusively in past tense, observed Dr. Cassandra Lee, forensic psychologist. This linguistic pattern often appears when someone has already processed a death, not when they're actively hoping for a missing person's return. Hit like if you're following these red flags and comment which detail you find most suspicious about Thomas's financial situation. Could money troubles drive someone to commit the unthinkable, or is this circumstantial evidence misleading investigators? When crimes occur at sea, justice often drowns in a sea of competing legal claims. The Blackwell case exemplifies this phenomenon, creating what FBI Special Agent Catherine Doyle called a prosecutor's worst nightmare. The Oceanic Majesty flew a Panamanian flag, a common practice called flag of convenience that allows cruise lines to register vessels in countries with minimal taxation and regulation. This meant Panamanian maritime law technically governed the ship, despite the cruise line's American ownership. At the time of Veronica's disappearance, the vessel sailed international waters between Italian and Maltese territories. According to maritime convention, this created a juridical vacuum where no single nation held clear authority. 4 separate jurisdictions could claim investigative rights, explained maritime attorney Rafael Montoya. Panama as the flag state, Italy and Malta as the nearest coastal nations, and the United States due to the victim and suspect's citizenship. This fragmentation inevitably delays evidence collection and witness interviews. The FBI faced severe constraints despite their superior investigative resources. Agents boarded the ship when it docked in Malta, but the 36-hour delay meant crucial evidence had already disappeared. They lacked authority to seize the ship's original surveillance equipment, relying instead on copies provided by Atlantic Voyage's security team, the same team whose systems mysteriously failed during the critical 11 minutes. We received video footage only after it passed through the cruise line's internal review, noted FBI digital forensic specialist Trevor Hammond. This creates an unacceptable chain of custody issue for evidence that might otherwise prove conclusive. The cruise line's handling of physical evidence provoked additional controversy. Cabin 8243 was cleaned by housekeeping staff 6 hours after Thomas reported Veronica missing, before any forensic team examined the scene. When questioned about this decision, Atlantic Voyages cited standard protocols for maintaining vessel operations. Maritime legal experts point to this case as highlighting how cruise ships operate in regulatory gaps that can facilitate criminal activity. Vessels move between jurisdictions constantly, witnesses scatter globally after disembarkation, and evidence quite literally drifts away. The perfect environment for a perfect crime, observed former prosecutor Maria Vasquez, who specialized in maritime cases. Investigation authority fragments across multiple agencies with competing priorities and limited cooperation frameworks. Physical evidence faces contamination or disappears entirely. Witnesses returned to dozens of different countries. These cases rarely reach satisfactory conclusions. Has this case changed how you view cruise safety? Many passengers remain unaware that stepping aboard a cruise ship means entering a legal gray zone where protection under their home country's laws becomes complicated, if not impossible. Would knowing these jurisdictional realities affect your vacation choices? While the criminal investigation stalled amid jurisdictional complications, the Chen family's wrongful death civil lawsuit progressed more efficiently through Massachusetts courts. Civil proceedings operate under a preponderance of evidence standard rather than beyond reasonable doubt, allowing attorneys to surface information that criminal prosecutors couldn't yet present. Discovery motions compelled Thomas's former employers, colleagues, and acquaintances to provide documents and testimony unavailable to international investigators. Among these, Veronica's personal journal, recovered from her office desk drawer. Visual, handwritten journal page showing entries with key phrases highlighted. The journal revealed increasingly concerning patterns in the months before their Mediterranean voyage. An entry from February 2018 read, "Tea exploded again tonight. Dinner with Lisa canceled because he said I planned it without checking his schedule first. When I mentioned our calendar system, he knocked over his wine glass, said I was undermining him." A March entry proved more alarming. "Second time this month my phone disappeared during my shower. Found it in his jacket pocket. When confronted, he accused me of hiding something from him. His eyes looked different, cold, like someone else was there." Most disturbing was her final entry, dated 2 weeks before their departure, considering postponing the cruise. "T's moods swing faster now. Mom noticed the bruise on my wrist, covered with makeup for the engagement photos. Told her I bumped against the counter. Not sure she believed me." The civil case unearthed additional witnesses. Veronica's hairstylist testified noticing finger-shaped bruises on her neck during a pre-wedding appointment. When questioned, Veronica attributed them to passionate moments while laughing nervously. Perhaps most compelling was testimony from Lucia Fernandez, who dated Thomas for 11 months in 2015. She described a frightening incident during a sailing excursion near Cape Cod. "We argued over something trivial. I believe it was me taking a photo with a male server. Thomas became enraged, grabbed my phone and threw it overboard. When I confronted him, he held me against the boat railing and whispered, 'It would be so easy to make you disappear out here.'" Fernandez ended the relationship immediately afterward but never reported the incident, stating, "I convinced myself he didn't mean it. Now I wonder if I could have prevented what happened to Veronica." Criminal psychologists examining the case identified numerous behavioral patterns in Thomas's statements and actions that raised professional concerns. Dr. Lucia Montgomery, who consulted for Italian prosecutors, highlighted what she termed narrative inconsistencies throughout his accounts. When describing genuine traumatic events, individuals typically maintain core details while peripheral elements may blur, Dr. Montgomery explained. Thomas demonstrated the opposite pattern. Peripheral details remained oddly fixed while central elements shifted with each retelling. She noted his interview responses contained excessive precision about irrelevant details, the exact brands of alcohol consumed, specific minutes on the ship's clock, while crucial timeframes remained vague. This selective hyperspecificity often indicates rehearsed rather than recalled information, she stated. FBI behavioral analysts flagged Thomas's physical affect during press appearances. He displayed what we call mismatched emotional indicators, tears without corresponding facial muscle engagement, vocal tremors that appeared and disappeared mid-sentence, noted senior analyst James Harper. These inconsistencies suggest emotional performance rather than authentic grief. Most concerning was what analysts termed preemptive defense in his statements. Thomas repeatedly volunteered information addressing potential accusations before they emerged publicly. He explained the blood evidence before investigators announced finding it, Harper observed. This anticipatory defense often indicates knowledge of incriminating evidence. Defense experts offered counter-perspectives. Psychologist Dr. Nathan Williams, testifying for Thomas, emphasized how trauma affects memory formation. Inconsistencies in high-stress recollections represent normal cognitive processing, not deception, Williams argued. Mr. Blackwell experienced the profound shock of losing his wife during what should have been their happiest time. Williams also criticized the rush to vilify Thomas based on normal grief responses. Many people respond to loss with emotional numbness or compartmentalization. This appears as detachment to observers, but represents a protective psychological mechanism. Perhaps most compelling was Dr. Williams' assertion that Thomas's actions aligned with innocents, guilty individuals. Typically avoid investigation, yet Mr. Blackwell voluntarily provided DNA samples, phone records, and financial documentation. Share this video to raise awareness about cruise ship safety. Every day, thousands of passengers board vessels without understanding the limited protections available to them at sea. Your share could prevent another family from experiencing this nightmare. 7 years after that Mediterranean night, Veronica's case floats in international legal limbo. No country has successfully prosecuted Thomas Blackwell. Italian authorities issued formal charges in 2019, but extradition attempts failed when U.S. courts ruled the evidence insufficient to meet treaty requirements. Maltese officials closed their investigation, citing lack of territorial jurisdiction, while Panamanian authorities never formally opened a case despite the ship's registration. "We face a legal dead zone," explained maritime attorney Sofia Mendes. Each country points to another as the responsible party. Meanwhile, crucial evidence degrades and witnesses' memories fade with each passing season. Thomas Blackwell has methodically rebuilt his existence. Property records show he sold their Boston condominium in late 2019, netting $420,000, which he transferred to a newly established Nevada trust. By 2020, he had relocated to Scottsdale, Arizona, purchasing a home through an anonymous LLC for $680,000, well below his previous lifestyle standard, yet offering privacy from media attention. In April 2021, Thomas married Rebecca Harlow, a wealth management advisor he met through professional connections. Their wedding announcement in local publications made no mention of his previous marriage. His employment shifted to remote work for Vertex Capital, a cryptocurrency investment firm with minimal public profile. The Chen family refuses to abandon their pursuit of accountability. Their wrongful death lawsuit continues navigating the appeals process, with Thomas's attorneys arguing for dismissal based on lack of definitive evidence of death. The $2 million insurance policy remains frozen pending case resolution. Adrian Chen, Veronica's brother, transformed personal tragedy into national advocacy. The Veronica Chen Foundation now represents families of 27 individuals who vanished from cruise vessels worldwide. Their annual Justice at Sea conference attracts international legal experts and law enforcement officials seeking solutions to maritime jurisdiction gaps. "My sister was meticulous about safety," Adrian testified before Congress. "She researched cruise lines extensively, chose a reputable company, followed all recommended precautions." None of that protected her. The Foundation's lobbying efforts culminated in Veronica's law, legislation requiring cruise vessels entering U.S. ports to maintain tamper-proof surveillance systems, establish clear missing person protocols, and consent to FBI jurisdiction for cases involving American citizens. The bill passed the House with bipartisan support, but remains stalled in Senate committee discussions. Maritime safety experts acknowledge incremental improvements within the industry, including enhanced security monitoring and standardized evidence preservation protocols. However, fundamental jurisdictional challenges persist whenever vessels enter international waters. But the most chilling question remains. The Mediterranean Sea has claimed innumerable secrets throughout human history. Now it holds one more: the truth of what happened to Veronica Blackwell during those 11 missing minutes. Her case exemplifies a disturbing reality. Oceans create perfect conditions for crimes without consequences. Justice at sea operates differently than justice on land. Evidence disperses with each passing wave. Witnesses scatter across continents. Responsibility fragments between nations reluctant to claim jurisdiction. These factors combine to create a system where accountability often evaporates into salt air. Questions persist that may never find answers. How did a woman so safety-conscious vanish without trace? Why did surveillance systems fail precisely during the critical moments? What occurred in cabin 8243 that neighbors heard through the walls? Why did Thomas visit the casino alone during hours he claimed to be asleep? Most crucially, could different maritime regulations have prevented this tragedy? For every case that captures public attention, dozens more disappearances occur with minimal investigation. Between 2000 and 2023, over 340 people vanished from cruise vessels globally. Less than 30% received thorough investigation. Fewer still resulted in conclusive findings. Cruise ships represent floating cities with populations larger than many towns, yet operate under fraction of the security oversight. Passengers enter these vessels assuming safety protections that maritime law simply doesn't provide. This gap between expectation and reality creates vulnerability that demands addressing through international cooperation. The Blackwell case reminds us that water holds no crime scene tape. Evidence drifts away. Alibis float unchallenged. Justice drowns in bureaucratic depths. What do you believe happened that night on the Oceanic Majesty? Did Veronica fall accidentally from that moonlit deck? Did she take her own life amid relationship troubles? Or did someone ensure she never returned to shore? Your theory might highlight details others have missed. Subscribe and hit the notification bell to join our investigation community. Together, we examine cases where conventional justice systems fail, bringing attention to victims whose stories deserve telling. Next week, the mysterious disappearance of honeymooners from a remote Alaskan lodge, with evidence pointing towards someone they trusted completely.